The world is captivated by the idea of a third world war. Speculation about how it would start, who would be involved, and how it might end is nearly constant. But what about World War IV? What happens after the dust settles from the next global conflict? Today we look beyond the hypothetical World War III and explore what might come next, the potential dynamics, technology, and alliances that could shape World War IV. Assuming World War III occurs, it's likely to leave the world in a very different state. The nations involved, infrastructure destroyed, and the balance of power completely altered. Recovery will be slow, and international distrust will be at an all-time high. Nations that survive the conflict intact may no longer be in the same positions of power. For instance, the current superpowers, if engaged in a devastating war, could face significant losses. Meanwhile, new alliances and rivalries could emerge among countries that managed to remain neutral or avoided significant destruction. World War IV, if it occurs, will likely be a conflict about survival and dominance in a fractured, weakened global order. World War IV will almost certainly involve technology beyond our current imagination, while World War III would likely involve the use of advanced drones, cyber attacks, and artificial intelligence. World War IV could take these innovations to the next level. In the future, we might see autonomous weapons that make decisions without human intervention. Swarms of AI-controlled drones could be the frontline troops replacing human soldiers. Quantum computing and advanced AI could turn the battlefield into a highly calculated, data-driven chessboard. Beyond military AI, other forms of technology like biotechnology and genetic engineering may play a role. Countries might develop genetically enhanced soldiers designed to survive harsh conditions or fight for longer periods without fatigue. We may also witness cybernetic augmentations where humans and machines merge to create a new breed of soldier, but it won't stop at the physical battlefield. The fight for control of information and psychological warfare will take center stage, with the use of neural implants, virtual reality manipulation, and mind hacking. Nations could deploy cognitive weapons that influence populations or incapacitate enemies by targeting their minds directly. In the aftermath of World War III, the Earth itself may be left deeply scarred. Ecosystems will likely be damaged, and access to clean water, fertile soil, and livable land will become scarce. World War IV may arise from this struggle over remaining resources. It could become a war of desperation. Nations might no longer fight for global dominance, but simply for the survival of their people. Control over agricultural zones, clean water, and energy resources like solar farms and geothermal stations could be the focal points of conflict. If nuclear weapons are used in World War III, World War IV could be fought on a planet where radiation zones are common, where entire regions are uninhabitable. This means that global warfare might not be about conquering territory, but managing to survive in a drastically reduced habitable world. As the global power structure shifts, new players may rise to prominence. In World War IV, we may see alliances between unexpected nations. Regions in the southern hemisphere, such as South America and Africa, might emerge as power centers, having been less impacted by previous conflicts. New regional powers could challenge what remains of the former superpowers. A coalition of resource-rich nations unburdened by the costs of World War III might form powerful alliances. Meanwhile, weakened superpowers may find themselves fighting in desperation to maintain their influence. Additionally, corporations and non-state actors could have unprecedented power. As governments weaken or fall apart, multinational companies controlling critical technologies, infrastructure, or resources may become the primary entities shaping global conflict. Imagine a war where corporations wield more influence than governments, using their private militaries and advanced technologies to fight battles over intellectual property, data, and resources. One of the most significant developments by the time of World War IV will be the evolution of psychological and digital warfare. Nations might not rely as heavily on traditional combat, but instead focus on undermining their enemies through misinformation, manipulation, and societal division. The internet, social media, and emerging forms of digital communication will be the primary battlegrounds. Nations may deploy armies of bots, hackers, and AI-driven propaganda machines to destabilize societies from within. The goal would not just be to defeat armies, but to break the will of entire populations, to cause them to turn against their governments or each other. We could see the rise of virtual warfare, where countries fight proxy wars in the digital space, causing mass disruption to critical infrastructure, communication networks, and financial systems without firing a single shot. As borders become less relevant in the digital age, the concept of nation-states may dissolve. World War IV could see the birth of a global conflict where the lines between civilian and soldier blur, where everyone is a potential target in the cyber and psychological battles. In the end, the biggest question of World War IV isn't who will win, but whether humanity itself will survive. With increasingly powerful weapons, biological and cybernetic enhancements, and AI-driven warfare, the ethics of war will be pushed to their limits. What happens when autonomous weapons make the wrong decisions? How will society deal with the consequences of genetic manipulation or the psychological toll of constant digital warfare? Humanity may find itself at a crossroads. World War IV could either push us to the brink of extinction or force us to reconsider the entire nature of conflict, technology, and survival. In the worst case, it might be the war to end all wars, and possibly civilization as we know it. But in the best case, it could lead to a global realization that cooperation is the only path forward. World War IV is for now pure speculation, yet by considering its potential impact, we can reflect on the fragility of our global systems and the dangerous path humanity might take. Perhaps, by looking beyond the next global conflict, we can make the choices necessary to prevent it. After all, the true lesson of war should be that it must never happen again.